Marketing means you might require some money for advertisements or publicity. So that will be included in your startup money. Suppose something happens, there's a loss, then its private assets has to be sold. So venture capitalist can also be a general partner. You cannot use some outdated technology which is 20 to 30 years old. You will have to go with the latest technology, and the latest technology is very costly. Hello everyone, this is Purna Chandra, Faculty Department of Commerce and Management, Vidhyaashram, the Temple of Excellence. So we are dealing with the subject Entrepreneurship Development for 5th Sem BCom. So already we have started the 3rd unit, and today will be your 2nd session in Unit 3. So the name of the unit is Financing of Small Business in India. So now we are going to deal with 3 topics today. That is venture capital, bills discounting and factoring. So we will understand them one by one. We will understand what actually venture capital is. So venture capital is a significant innovation of the 20th century. That is, it is a latest style of investment in business. So it has evolved significantly in the 20th century. So we'll understand what venture capital really is. So here, venture capital is a new financial service which develops strategy to help new class of entrepreneurs. That is, for example, there are few guys who are having a very good business idea, but they are not having financial assistance, or they don't have financial stability. That is, they are not having financial potential. So what happens here is a venture capitalist will invest on those ideas to make it a reality. So here certain set of people are having money, but they don't know, or they don't have ideas. But certain set of people, they are having ideas, but they are not having money. So the person who is having money and is willing to invest on ideas is known as venture capitalist. So he invests his money on ideas, and later on when the idea becomes successful, he enjoys the profits. This is the concept of venture capital. So it aims at translating business ideas into realities. That is, a person is having some ideas but he is not having money. So these people, they invest money for those ideas, and they help in translating these ideas into reality. This is the introduction to venture capital. So next, definition of venture capital. So we will see what is the definition. Venture capital is the equity support to fund a new concept that involves higher risk, higher growth and profit potential. So here what is happening? There is an idea. So to support that idea, a venture capitalist will undertake a lot of risk, because he will have to invest in crores. This is not going to happen in lakhs as of today. So he is having high risk, and at the same time, if the idea clicks, then what happens is he is also having high growth as well as profit potential. So this is the definition of venture capital. So one good example of venture capital is your Swiggy. So Swiggy was just an idea with 2 persons from Bangalore. So they received in total 97 USD, 97 million US dollars was invested by venture capitalists from abroad. So this was the amount that was given to them till 2018. So now the present worth of Swiggy is 10.7 billion. See, this is the thing. So it was an idea with 2 persons in 2014. So the idea was in 2014. So the investment was made. Venture capitalists made an investment of 97 million US dollars. And today, as of 2022, the total net worth of Swiggy is 10.7 billion. This is a very successful example of venture capital. So next, we will see what are the different stages in venture capital. So we will understand one by one. Seed money. So basically, what is seed money? That is when the business is in the nature of seed. That is, it is starting. It requires certain money. So that is called seed money. It is the low level finance needed to start an idea. So there's an idea. Just to propel or start the idea, you need seed money. So this is the first stage in venture capital. Second, startup. So basically, it is an early stage finance that is required. You call it as startup money. Early stage firms that need funding for expenses associated with marketing and product development. So you call it as startup. Marketing means you might require some money for advertisements or publicity. So that will be included in your startup money. And also product development. To develop a product, you need raw materials, you need experts, you need a processing team. So for that, there will be certain minimum amount which you require. So that will be constituted in the startup money. So next, first round financing. After startup, it is first round. So here, early sales and manufacturing funds. So now the product has been manufactured. To sell it, you might require money for logistics. Logistics is nothing but transportation. So this is concerned with first round. And also manufacturing funds. You might require other miscellaneous funds for manufacturing. So this will be constituted in your first round. So next we go for the second round. Working capital for early companies that are selling products but not yet turning profit. That is, they are not crossing the break-even point. That is, no loss and no profit. So here what is happening? They need working capital money to pay the salaries or other expenses that they incur. So this will be met in the second round. So here, companies that are selling products but still not making profit, for them, second round financing is done by the venture capitalist. Next, third round, mezzanine financing. What is this? This is expansion money for a new profitable company. Now the company is doing well. The products are being sold. There's a lot of profit. Now they want to expand. Like how? For example, there's a branch in MYSURU. Now it is doing well. They want to expand in Bangalore, Mangalore, or any other cities. So for this, third round financing is done by the venture capitalist. Next, fourth round or bridge financing. So what does this mean? It is intended to finance the going public process. So basically, the fourth round is done when the company goes public. That is, they offer share to the people. To assist in this, fourth round financing is done, or you call it as bridge financing. So these are the different stages of venture capitalist funding. So next, roles within a venture capital firm. So what are the different roles inside a venture capital firm? So first one is general partner, also known as venture capitalist. So general partner means is liability is unlimited. Suppose something happens, there's a loss, then his private assets has to be sold. So venture capitalist can also be a general partner. Then you go for limited partners. Investors in venture capital funds are also known as limited partners. Means suppose something goes wrong, then the personal assets like building, house, cars or two-wheelers cannot be sold to repay. So such a partners we call it as limited partners. So next, venture partners. So they bring in deals and receive income only on deals they work on. So what is the meaning of this? So there are certain partners who bring in specific deals. So they receive profit only on those deals. So a business entity may be dealing with 10 different kinds of deals. So suppose there's a venture capitalist who is involved in only one deal. So he will receive profit based on only that deal, not all the 10 deals. This is the meaning. So next, entrepreneurs in residence. They are experts and perform particular work in which they specialize. So obviously, to come out with product as of today, you require assistance of experts. Without experts, you cannot come out with a quality product. So entrepreneur in residence means they are experts, they are got all kinds of knowledge, technical, managerial knowledge. And what these people do is they perform particular work in which they specialize. This is the example. For example, an engineer to design the circuit, or an advertising agency CEO who can work for you to come out with an attractive advertisement. So this is the things. So next, features of venture capital. What are the different features of venture capital? Long time horizon. So you are investing on an idea. Overnight you will not become a billionaire. You require minimum 5 to 7 years to become successful. Lack of liquidity. What is the meaning of this? You have invested in an idea. For example, you have invested 100 crores today, and maybe after 15 days you feel that it is not feasible. Now to liquidate that 100 crore, it is not easy. You will have to wait for a longer period of time. That is lack of liquidity. High risk is always associated because you are not investing in thousands, you are not investing in lakhs, but you are investing in hundreds and thousands of crores. So obviously there will be high risk. High technology and innovation. So to compete in the present day market, you cannot use some outdated technology which is 20 to 30 years old. You will have to go with the latest technology, and the latest technology is very costly. So that is one more feature. And innovation. You cannot keep on producing the same product over and over again. You will have to upgrade it. That is called innovation. If you don't innovate, what happens is your competitors will innovate, and finally customers who are buying your product will go to your competitors. That is the meaning. Equity participation and capital gains. So equity participation means when you are offering shares, how much will the venture capital buy? That is regarding equity participation. Capital gains means how much capital gains you are getting in the entire project or the business. Then participation in management. So obviously here there are two parties. One is the person who is having idea, and the other is the venture capitalist who is investing in that idea. So here there has to be clarity regarding the participation of both of them in the management. So who will be the board of directors? Who will be the departmental heads? So everything will be specified. So next we go to process of venture capital. So this is the process of venture capital. So there are 3 steps. We will understand one by one. So the first step is deal origination. So basically what is deal origination? So to start any business, you have to make a deal. So for example, there are 5 different ideas, and you are a venture capitalist, you want to invest in one idea. So you will come out with your own deal origination. That is, in what ways I can invest in these ideas. What are the strategies? How much money initially I have to give? Later on, step by step, what are the money which I have to transfer? This is called deal origination. So next, screening. So for each idea, you have made the deal. Now you compare between those ideas. So that is called screening. So why you are comparing? For example, you are having 5 deals. So you are having 5 deals in front of you. So each deal you will match or you will compare, and out of these 5 deals, what you do, you select one deal. This is the first step. You come out with the deals and you screen the deals to select one deal. This is the meaning of the first step. So now you selected one deal. Come to step 2. So here you are evaluating the deals. That is, what deal you have selected. You will do some feasibility study, whether it is financially feasible, technically feasible, socially feasible. So you will evaluate this deal. So next what happens, you are convinced that it will work out for you. Next you go for deal structuring. So deal structuring basically means what are the future activities which we are going to do, the scheduling of activities. For each activity, how much money will I have to give, at what date. So everything will be structured. So this is evaluation and deal structuring. So next we go to the last step, that is step 3, post investment activity. Now you have decided to invest in one deal or one idea. So what you do some post-investment activity, means you've decided how much to invest, now you invest. That is post-investment activity. So you will have to allocate resources for your finance department or production or your marketing, you will have to give money. So that is called post-investment activity. And promotion of your product, everything you will have to diversify your money. So after that, you execute the plan. So you allocated, you made, everything has been organized, planned. So next what you do, what activities you have structured, you are going to execute it, so that you come out with a product, sell it in the market and make it big as a venture capitalist. So this is the process of venture capital. So next we go for advantages. What are the advantages of venture capital? So here, economy oriented. Obviously it is economy oriented because venture capital promotes entrepreneurship. So these are the advantages of venture capital. First one is economy oriented. That is, venture capitalist usually leads to lots of startups or new ideas in the market. So entrepreneurs are promoted. As a result, there's an economic growth of the country because gross national product is increasing, per capita income is increasing, there is industrialization of the country, there is large scale generation of employment. So it is economy oriented. Then it is also investor oriented because people, they're having money with them, but simply keeping it in the bank, they are not going to get returns. So when they invest in some ideas, whatever savings they are having, they can multiply the money. That is called investor oriented. Then entrepreneur oriented. Obviously, because venture capitalists are investing in money, or because the venture capitalists are investing money on ideas, lot of entrepreneurs are coming into light. This is the meaning. Then alliances. Obviously, now for example, there is a venture capitalist firm which is doing well. Now they want to go for international market. Like what? International markets. They want to go for joint venture or alliance. They are doing well in India. Now they want to do something big abroad. So they can go for alliance with international companies. Next, prepare a company for IPO. That is initial public offering. That is, venture capitalists are experienced persons who have got knowledge regarding IPO. That is, how many shares to offer and in what numbers. So these are the advantages of venture capital. Next, methods of venture capital. They can go for equity. Equity means the venture capitalist will ask to go for an IPO and they will buy the shares. This is equity. Conditional loan. So conditional loan means there will be certain set of conditions that I will invest in your idea and you will have to give stake in your business. Stake in your business means 60% ownership, 70% ownership, that depends on the agreement. And whatever profits they are making, in what ratios they will divide. That is conditional loans. And there are other kinds of financial methods in which we can also carry out venture capital. So next we are going for the topic bills discounting. So we will understand what is actually bills discounting. First we will understand what is bill. So whenever you sell or supply products on credit to customer, you draw upon a corresponding invoice. That is, there is a seller and there is a buyer. So he is the seller and he is the buyer. So now what has happened here is, the seller has given product to buyer. So this is the product. So now the buyer here, he has given one invoice to the seller. So for example, the value of this invoice is rupees 1 lakh. So the value of this invoice is rupees 1 lakh. Now what happens is, but the seller, if he produces that bill to the bank today, he will not get 1 lakh. So the payment of the bill is after 3 months. So this seller has to give it to the bank after 3 months. bills discounting. So what happens here is, whenever you sell or supply products on credit to a customer, you draw upon a corresponding invoice. So here the basic concept of bills discounting, the seller and a buyer. So the seller has given products to the buyer. So buyer has given one invoice to the seller that the payment will be made after 3 months. So the amount to be paid is 1 lakh. That is after 3 months. So now the seller here, he wants the cash right now. That is not after 3 months. So he approaches a discounting agency. So after 3 months, if he waits for 3 months, he will get 1 lakh. Now he has approached the discounting agency. What this discounting agency will do is, they will discount the bill. The value of the bill was 1 lakh. So because seller wants it today itself, they will discount it by 10% and they will give only 90,000. This is called bills discounting. This is the concept of bills discounting. So here, this invoice mentions the payable amount and date of repayment. And bills discounting means some amount of discount is given on this invoice bill. So again we will explain. Seller has given the product to the buyer. Buyer has given the bill of exchange to the seller. So what bill of exchange says is, after 3 months I will pay this 1 lakh amount. Now the seller is not ready to wait for 3 months. So he goes to a discounting agency, gets it discount, and he gets ready cash of rupees 90,000. This is the concept of discounting bills. So meaning of bill of exchange, it is same as that. So it is an instrument in writing. It has an unconditional order, like when the payment will be made and what is the amount. The order is to pay certain sum of money to a specified person after specific product of time. This is the meaning. So next, discounting of bills. So as I've already explained, you want ready cash today, it will be discounted by 10 to 15% and the amount will be given to you. This is discounting of bill. So option for discounting of bills. So obviously, seller can take the accepted bill to a discounting agency and obtain ready cash. He can get ready cash by going to the discounting agency if he is not ready to wait, or else he has to wait for another 3 or 4 months. Act of giving accepted bill for ready money is called bills discounting. And the difference between ready money paid and the face value of the bill is called discount. So in the previous exam it was 1 lakh. The seller is not ready to wait for 3 months. He wants ready cash. So 10% of 1 lakh will be deducted. That is the discount. 10,000 will be reduced and he gets only 90,000. This is bills discounting. Approvals for bills discounting. Once approval is given for bills discounting, following the documents have to be submitted. That is, invoice have to be submitted, challan, receipt of the goods. If there is any agreement or promissory note which is legally binding, it has to be given. Railway receipt or truck receipt if the products are transported, and post-dated check for interest amount. Everything has to be provided for approval of bills discounting. So next we go for the last topic, that is factoring. What is factoring? The word factor has been derived from the Latin word facere, which means to make, to do, get things done. So we will understand basically what is factoring. Factory may be broadly defined as the relationship created by agreement. So for factoring, there will be one agreement. So here we will understand what it actually is. Agreement is between the seller of goods or service and financial institution called the factor. So we will understand what it actually is, factoring. So we'll understand what is factor. Financial institution that specialized in purchasing receivables from business firms, we call it as a factor. Next, factor assumes the risk of collections of receivables. It assumes the risk of collection of the receivables. So on the event of non-payment by the customers, factor bears the risk of bad debts and the losses. It is very simple. I'll just explain this. So now what is happening is there is a seller and there is a buyer, and here is the factoring agency or anything of this. So now what has happened is the seller has sold the products to the buyer. Now what happens here is the factor, what he'll do, the buyer will give one invoice to the factor. For example, he has to pay this. For example, he will have to pay 1 lakh. So this is the amount which the buyer has to give the sender. So buyer will not give the money to the factor. He will just give an invoice. So what factor will do? So he'll make the payment to the seller right away. That is, for example, it is 1 lakh. So the seller gets 1 lakh. So now seller is out of the picture. Now what happens? The factor has to get it from the buyer, the money. So this is called factoring. So there's a seller and there's a buyer, and in between there is a factor. You can call him as a recovery agent. So the buyer has to make payment to the seller for the products, but he will give an invoice to the factor. Factor will make immediate payment to the seller. Now seller is out of the picture. Now it is the responsibility of the factor to retrieve the money from the buyer. This is called factoring. Suppose if he is not able to recover the money from the buyer, then it is his responsibility or liability. This is called factoring. So the seller has sold goods to the buyer. Buyer will not make payment to the factor. He will just send one invoice. So after getting invoice, factor will make payment to the seller. Now it is the responsibility of the factor to get the money back from the buyer within a specified time. This is called factoring. Parties involved in factoring are suppliers or sellers, that is the client. Next, buyer or debtors, that is the customers. Financial intermediary, that is the factor. So these are the parties that are involved in factoring. So characteristics of factoring, usually the period for factoring is 90 to 150 days. No one will give time more than 150 days for the buyer to repay the money. So some factoring companies might allow even more than 150 days. Example for factoring is your SBI, State Bank of India Factors and Commercial Private Limited, or SIDBI, Small Industries Development Bank of India. They also are involved in factoring. So in the next session, what we will be understanding is government subsidies and incentives for SSI and Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. Thank you.